It's time for our first Get a Job segment of 2023. Gail Cruikshank, Talent Director, Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation is here. Gail, thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
How the roads out there today?
Mostly just wet until we get to the parking lots, and then it's more icy.
It's a little icy. Yeah, I noticed that. My wife is telling me, she texted me today saying that somebody slid into our snowbank. Because we're kind of on a curve.
Yeah.
So apparently they were going a little bit too fast, slid into the snowbank. So don't let that be you out there, listener, or you, Gail, when you're on your way back to work today or back home. So today we're talking about 2023 Employee Retention Workforce Solutions.
We are. Because we thought, a lot of people, we're hearing that the job candidates are better. People are having a little bit more assortment to pick from when they're hiring. But now the big thing is you got to keep them, right? I mean, there's still lots of jobs available. We hover right around 8,500 to 9,000 jobs just in the 3-county areas. So it can't just be the relief, I hired this great person. Now what am I going to do to keep them? And, I think it's critical that employers understand that take this now as an opportunity to rethink what some of your practices, policies, what your culture's like, all that sort of thing, to make sure you are that employer of choice, because job seekers and employees have choices.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's still a job seeker market, isn't it?
It is. And remote work is going to be here to stay in one way, shape, or form. And even if you have a business that isn't conducive to remote work, maybe there's other benefits you can offer your employees. Just looking at things that, how can I make my company attractive, really is important right now.
Is there more or less remote jobs now than there was a year or two ago?
Oh, by far more. And a lot of job seekers are specifically looking, if this job isn't remote or at least have some form of hybrid, I'm not even going to apply.
Really?
Yeah. And again, I understand some businesses can't be remote. You need to physically be there. But then there's other things you can give them as perks, too, just so there is a nice balance.
So if it's like an office job, those jobs, have they become quite a bit remote over time?
In many cases, they have. Even as far as reception can be remote, depending on, again, what that company's culture is and what their goals and expectations are. Some want to still have some physical people on site, but then they're rotating those folks. So maybe you're in office 2 to 3 days a week, and then you're working remotely the other days of the week. So, again, trying to find solutions that are going to make somebody feel comfortable there and happy to be there and valued to be there. So
now your first item listed here is trust and accountability.
Right.
Not as easy to accomplish as we just said. I mean, that's a tough one, and that takes time, doesn't it?
It does. But it's thinking more about, I don't have to be watching and looking at you all day to know that you're productive, right? It's, again, building that accountability that I know that employee A is doing what they're supposed to do. And maybe it's tightening up some of those expectations and accountabilities and, how they are watching them to see what is, that need. What are they expected to get done? And let's make, again, holding accountable, but including them in those conversations too, so they can feel like they're a part of creating those accountabilities, but then holding them to it is really the key. So it's not necessarily managing them. It's more like coaching them. And again, holding them accountable, but then obviously you can increase the talent pool. You can increase your own employees that way because you're making them stronger to do more for you.
Do employers need to kind of change some of that mentality of, I don't need to see that person to know that they're doing the job they're supposed to be doing?
Right. They need to do that. I mean, you can't, and again, let's all be honest. I mean, even if somebody was sitting in an office, that doesn't mean they were always productive either, right? I think just COVID has really highlighted this to say there's different ways to do things, right? We all learned during COVID that you can do things differently when you're absolutely forced to. And so I think the real message is take the time right now to think about, what have I changed? The other real big one is, when you focus on retaining your employees, Have you looked at your job descriptions? Do they absolutely all positively need a 4-year degree? Or maybe the responsibilities can look different. What are most of those people leaving that job for? And maybe can you switch it? Can you alter it? Can you split some of the responsibilities? And make sure, again, you're including the employees in those decisions. Because, again, you get their buy-in, they're going to stay.
What are some secrets to try to build that positive culture for employers so they can retain these employees?
Well, I think, again, it's having some form of feedback mechanisms, right? So can you have some opportunity for them to have, do you have a suggestion box? Do you have monthly or quarterly meetings with employees just to say, hey, what's going well? What needs to be changed? Again, I think all employees know that not everything they ask for is going to happen, but just the whole thought about I'm being listened to, and some of my ideas are taking hold in one way, shape, or form. I think that's just critical. I mean, like I mentioned, the job postings example. One company I read, they took 4-year degrees off of their job descriptions, and they had a 30% increase in, applicants and hires. So again, yes, some jobs do need that degree. Totally understand. But a lot of them, no. It's that, or can at least be experience equivalent. That sort of thing.
If you're a job seeker, you're listening to this, what things should you be looking for in a lot? Because these descriptions can be pretty vast. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, they have, these are the things we'd like you to have to apply for this job. Mm-hmm. What is the wording that we should look at and say, well, maybe it's not required?
Well, you mean from the job seeker side?
From the job seeker side.
I always say, look at, if they list 6 requirements, if you have a good percentage of those, I would encourage you to apply, because employers know they're not going to get 6 out of 6 or 10 out of 10 or whatever it is. So, but if there's certain certifications that are needed for that role, then that is certainly one that you need to say, hey, do I have this? Or does the company provide training to get that, right? So I think for job seekers, there's, the job, and identify what are the, non-replaceables, or they are truly something you need. But again, a lot of it gets down to experience, communication, and working together, collaboration. I mean, it doesn't matter what we all do. Those are the things. Can that person do that? And I think you'd be surprised at how many people can fit your roles as an employer that you maybe have passed on in the past.
So I know I sidetracked you there. So getting back to what we were talking about with employee retention, how about supporting an employee's well-being? What does that look like?
Well, and I think it's very, very important. A lot of people think, well, we offer benefits, right? We offer medical, dental, vision, all those sort of things. But it's more than that. You've heard a lot about mental health, right? There is so much more focus on that. Again, the pandemic caused an enhanced view on this. And are you offering support services? You don't need to be the expert as the employer, but do you have services available that your employees know how they can get? Also thinking about, do you offer trainings on financial well-being? All of that sort of thing. Do you offer flexibility so people can be away from work if they're taking care of either themselves or a child or an elder person, be it a parent, grandparent, that sort of thing, and not sacrifice their job because they have to be away. So again, it's thinking about the well-being of that person. And again, it's going to vary by employee, right? Everybody is not the same. They don't all have the same needs. So having some sort of open, variety of options and just having those resources available, because you just don't know what stage everybody's at.
So kind of show you care.
Right. Absolutely.
How about childcare options?
Childcare, we've talked about this before, and it continues to be a very, very critical element to people accepting jobs. We're even hearing that even potential businesses coming to town, they're asking, the realtors and folks, what's childcare like in your community? Because that is going to really dictate employees taking a job with that company. And again, you don't all have to open up a childcare center. Yes, we have a few folks locally that have done that on site, and it's been a huge retention and recruitment tool for them. But even if it's little things, do you offer some sort of compensation to help with that huge childcare cost that those families pay every time? Again, is there flexibility? Some people have gone together to provide some services, like employers working together to say, okay, I'll, purchase so many slots. And then that, so when you hire somebody and they have small children, they know they're going to have childcare. Or at least giving them resources if you're interviewing a candidate to say, these I know are the childcare places that are around this place of employment, and these are their contact information, or I recommend maybe you look at this. There's a, facility, that sort of thing. So again, just being aware of it's a big deal for employees and job seekers, and it will make a difference. I mean, we're still missing so many females in the workforce because, again, they're opting to, it makes more sense financially to stay home than to pay that childcare. So giving them some flexibility. Again, can you offer remote work or some sort of flexibility hybrid so they only have to worry about childcare for a few days out of the week?
Right.
Just different stuff like that.
One last one, leverage the metaverse. What is that?
Well, it's really just thinking about how can we continue to train and develop our associates, right? And they don't need to go for a week for training in X city. Again, there's so much remote. Again, giving them the tools to continue to enhance their skills, which then will help you be a better employer and be a more successful one. So again, you continue to grow as a company is going to not only help yourself, but also help those employees. And they're going to feel like they're a part of your success. And then they're going to want to stay. And then they're going to tell everybody, hey, you got to come work at my company. It's awesome. They do this, 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 and they're, So again, it just kind of builds that whole energy around making our community the best place to live, work, and engage. If we've got successful companies, then we've got a lot of attraction and a lot of focus on our community. And we get tremendous activity on our JobSpot website. So we know people are looking here for jobs. So let's give them an opportunity and a reason to come here. They're not all just local people looking for a job here. It's a lot of people from other states, other, areas, and that's exciting. They're identifying our region, so let's make sure that they like what they see, and they want to come and work for one of our great companies in the region.
Gail, unfortunately, we're out of time.
I know.
And it goes by fast.
It
always
does.
If people are looking for jobs or information about retaining employees, what can they do?
Two things I would suggest. If you're a job seeker, please utilize stcloudshines.com, which has JobSpot located right within that. Like I mentioned, about 8,000 to 9,000 jobs available, all levels, and it'll put you in their direction of applying directly. And then if you are looking for resources, if you're an employer, go to greaterstcloud.com, which is our GSDC website that's got lots of resources for recruitment and retention.
Excellent. Gail, thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Have a
next
great
month.
day. Yep.
You too. That's Gail Cruikshank, Talent Director, Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation.